Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Empowered Life podcast. Lisa Pezik here, and I'm so excited today to be joined with Dr. Pernell. We're going to be chatting about the next 45 minutes or so with you about leadership. And everyone can be a leader. Everyone has those qualities. Everyone can step up and maximize all these areas of your life, maybe just starting with one. And you can start right now. So that's what Dr. Pernell and I are going to be chatting with you about. How do you set strategic pathways and get some clarity and some focus and just go? Like, your time is now. So that's what we want to inspire in the next 45 minutes together. So let me tell you all about Dr. P. Dr. P, first off, I should say thank you for being here with me.
You know, it's a great day to be making your magic. So great to be with you, Lisa. Thank you.
Yes. And actually, there's three of us on this podcast. I know some of you might not be able to see, but it's me, Dr. P, and Curious George. Those of you that will see the video will see Curious George is here with us. And we will get to Curious George in a moment and talk all about the significance and story behind him. But let me tell you about Dr. P first. So Dr. P is insightful, witty, and playful, which you're definitely going to hear in this interview. He brings over 35 years of experience as an advisor to entrepreneurs and executives and leaders who are engaged and focused on building their strengths and define their strategic pathways and attain clear success. He leverages clarity and focus as those foundational elements in building relationships, developing leadership skills, and the basis for his dynamic leadership programs. He's been seen on Forbes, on Fox, on NBC morning television. You're an international acclaimed best-selling author. And we're going to talk about those books. You are a speaker, a certified high-performance coach, and you truly do help people. He has helped people all across the globe. Now, you've got 3 books. Choosing Your Power was your first book that led you to become a Hay House author, and it has international acclaim. Your second book is with the legendary Brian Tracy, called The Winning Way. There we get that visual there, love it. And dives into that concept of the meaning maker. I love that, meaning maker leadership. And you have your third book, The Significance Factor, that just came out in September of this past, or 2016. And that focuses on the key steps that every person needs to take to transform their life of success and make it truly matter. And that's something my people that are listening really are trying to do. They're trying to leave that legacy. They're trying to change their kind of daily, thoughts and habits to really live that life of success and make it matter. Now, some other things about you.
I have something special for your audience, so we could talk about that too. How do they become take that significance and take that success and bring it up just a little bit? So I have something special. We could talk about that at the end.
I'm so excited, that gift we get to give people. To say, okay, you've been inspired. Okay, now go. Take that next step.
Exactly.
And then just some other off-the-cuff things about you, which is pretty incredible. So you have your doctorate. That's why we call you Dr. P, Dr. Wayne, Dr. Pernell. You've helped a lot of organizational teams, things like Schwab, Whole Foods, and your dad was a dentist. And I can remember seeing a live video of your dad and the wisdom and just the awesomeness of him. So that really sparked you to get into that organizational senior consultant, help dental professionals, and again, make a difference in people's lives. And then you used to be, or I guess you still are maybe, performing magic. You're a magician.
So yeah, I used to cut my wife into thirds. She and I would perform together, and I would always put her back together. It's so important. And I'm not performing as much anymore. I don't, I don't hit the stage as much because, I've been authoring and things like that. So, but you can't take the magic out of a person, really. So
yeah, I love
it. It's always in me.
I love
my company is called The Magic of Dr. P. So that's where Dynamic Leader programs came from. Mm-hmm. And that it's just because I believe that every one of us has our own magic. So There you
What
go.
a beautiful thought. That magic inside you, we all have it, and it may look different for each one of us.
Exactly.
But you bring that out, and that's
Exactly.
that part of. I love that the name of what you do is dynamic leadership, because being dynamic is so key. And then the last thing I just want to say about you here is you're a 4th degree black belt.
Yes. So a lot of people go like this, and it's like, no, you're actually more safe around me, right? Not like,
oh, good to know.
That's the whole point, is like, you don't have anything to be afraid of with me. You actually are more safe when you're with me. So
I love that.
come hang out, come train.
You help people emphasize the power of awareness and choice.
Definitely.
In high pressure situations. Yeah, and that is true when you think about, after you get over that gut, like, oh my God, you're gonna kick my butt. No, it's, you think about the discipline that's involved in martial arts and in that way of life that it is. It's slow. Isn't it like, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know, I've never done it, but it's like trying to be that step ahead and just being really methodical and being in it. Like, you got to be present when you're doing things like that.
Presence is everything, really. You're right. And it's, the art that I studied is a multidisciplinary martial art. So it incorporates traditional karate, which is linear. It incorporates Aikido and Aikijitsu, which is circular. And from that, what I bring to leaders is the idea of choice, that everything that comes at you that feels like an attack doesn't have to be blocked and countered. It's not force against force. Sometimes there's value in absorbing and turning. Sometimes there's value in evading, just not being there. Let the other person's energy go right by you. It's like, grr, and if you're not there, it's sort of like, right? So I'll do this for the camera. It's like, oof. And if you're like, that's cool, it's someone else's energy, and they're like, you suck, you're terrible. It's like, cool. So if it's not yours, let it go right by. If it is yours, take it and turn it and, own it, and then turn it back. So as humans, we choose. As leaders, we need to choose even more broadly. We need to be much more aware. What are the effects of this energy that's coming at us, whether it's a personal affront or whether it's, oh my gosh, my computer went down or whatever. It's like, that's all a choice, how you choose to respond to it. Nobody's doing it to you necessarily, right? So how do you choose to respond to what you're being given in the world?
Mm-hmm. And that's beautiful to think you do have the power. Sometimes it's easy to feel like the victim, to feel like you're being attacked.
Yeah.
Beautiful insight to say, wait. Okay, this is coming at me, but now I have a choice with what I want to do with it and how
exactly.
I respond to it, right?
Exactly.
And some people get so caught up in thinking that they don't have a choice, they don't have the power. So,
and that's where my first book came from. Choosing your power is really about becoming the person that you deserve to be at home and in the world. It's all about, how do you choose to step up? Some people apologize for breathing, basically. It's like, oh, sorry. Some people use, sorry. No, just kidding. Some people use language that is deflating for themselves too, or demeaning to other people. So it's like, what language are you choosing? What for yourself, for others? What mental state are you choosing? So basically, in the world, how do you step up big and bold and, be your big badass self? It's like, how do you choose to own your space?
Totally. And own that every day.
100%. Exactly. Every day. You wake up with it, right? So you wake up with it.
100%.
That really is being, and I'm going to use a visual here. That really is what the Dynamic Leader program is. That's my phone. Isn't that cool?
I love that. I noticed that when we were sitting next to each other at our mastermind together. So I'm like, oh, that's so great. Amazing.
So, but that really is, what stepping into being a dynamic leader really is about, is the power of choice, and then the power of direction, right? So that's how you take your level of success, move it to the next level. That's how you becoming aware of others. That's how you become more significant, right? Is the amount of impact you have. So, yeah.
Love it. So it sounds like a lot of your background has been put into these books, obviously. And, you know, you're taking pieces of what you've learned and sharing those nuggets and those lessons. So we learned a lot about you, how dynamic you really are. You know, tell me a little bit more, though. There's something about pizza here that I have to ask you about. So tell me a little bit about you and your story about pizza.
So yeah, this is like how pizza changed my life. And really, you know, when I was 42, I had a lot of success behind me. You know, I was consulting, I was big and bold in the world, but it also didn't mean I was happy, right? In fact, there were a lot of things going on in my life, and I was kind of far from happy. I wasn't, I just wasn't. There were so many things that felt like they were in turmoil. And so that's the thing, is that success doesn't always mean happiness. And I felt like I needed to get away. And my brother is 12 years younger than I am. So I flew to his house in Nevada. I'm sitting on Jeff's living room floor, pulling at the little strands of white carpet. And because he's 12 years younger, he's like, hey, he like growing up, he could never help me, right? Being that much younger. But because I came to his house, he's like, hey, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here. Hey, what do you want to do? What do you want? And it was like, okay, try not to piddle on the carpet. You know, it was like, he's so sweet, right? He goes, I'll tell you what, let's get a pizza. Should we get a pizza? Let's get a pizza. I'm like, cool, let's get a pizza. Okay. And he goes off to the kitchen, and he picks up the phone book. Remember when, you know, phone books existed? and he flips through it, and he picks up the phone off the wall. It was yellow with a big long cord. Remember those, right? So, yeah, well, it was not dial. It was push button at that point, but yeah. So a rotary takes it back way far. No, this was not that far ago, when there were actually phones versus cell phones. And he starts to punch in buttons, and he yells to me, and he goes, hey, brother, because he never called me Wayne. Sometimes he did, but you know, usually it was like, hey, brother, what do you like on your pizza? And I'm like, well, pineapple and olives. And I'm like sort of rocking back and forth. I'm pulling at the carpet. I'm trying to be depressed. Or I was depressed and, you know, in that state. And he goes, cool, okay, pineapple and olives. And he starts to punch in more numbers, and I yelled at him, wait. And I burst into tears. And it was like, what, right? And he hangs up the phone, and he puts down the phone book, and he comes over to me, and he puts his arm around me, and he goes, dude, it's just a pizza. And I'm like, I know. He goes, what happened? I go, well, nobody ever asked me that question before. And I'm like, and he's like, what? Right? What question? I go, nobody ever asked me what I like on my pizza. I gave you the answer that was the easy answer. I was going along to get along. The answer that was the answer we always had in our house was just easy because everybody, the kids liked it. It was just easy to get. Pineapple and olives, they like that combination. Just get that, and there's no argument. And it's like, I'm not sitting there. I'm like, what do I like on my pizza? And I realized in that instant, that if I'd been going along to get along, if I'd been giving away the small choices in my life, dang, what about the big choices in my life? And so, well, the question of, hey, there's this thing about pizza. What's your, it's like, you know what? That one question about pizza changed my life. And it was, I am certain that our listening audience, and maybe even you, have some experience with going along to get along, with giving away part of yourself until it hurts so much that you go, I can't continue to give myself away. It was that I started writing. And the working title of my book, it was many years ago. The working title of Choosing Your Power was A Worthy Struggle. And I wrote that, the human condition is about this worthy struggle. And as I started writing, I realized I was writing about the pain, and I wanted to change that. And so A Worthy Struggle, I began rewriting it, and A Worthy Struggle became Choosing Your Power. And this came out 4 years ago. This came out in at the time of this podcast, 2013 is 4 years ago. So, and it's done really well. It's touched lives. And I wrote it because there were people that would come to me in my other teaching, and they go, hey, that's, that thing you said, that's not in your material. Where's that? And I'm like, well, that's inside me. And they're like, you should write that down. So I started to write down the things that other people resonated with that wasn't in the training material that I was bringing to them. And so in Choosing Your Power, I talk about relationships. I talk about watchwords, powerful watchwords. I talk about, who we are to each other. I talk about finding your voice, really, discovering your voice, because that's what my struggle was I was powerful out in the world, and I didn't feel that way,
I got goosebumps listening to every word you're saying. That is resonating so much with me. And I know how much that's going to resonate with everybody listening.
That's awesome. Good. Well, I'm hoping that, that you reach out, look at dynamicleader.com, and that's where you'll find my books. I've all three of them listed there. So please, reach out, dynamicleader.com, to see Choosing Your Power.
Yeah. And someone once described it to me as when you draw the line in the sand, it's like that question of how many times are you going to keep stepping over that line? And the more times that you keep stepping over that line, the more times you lose your voice, you lose yourself, you lose what you want. Like for you, pineapple and olives, like you said, it was the safe answer.
It was the go-to, right?
Yeah.
And we have not just that one answer. That's the problem, is that if that was the only thing I had gone along to get along, if that was the only part of my life I had been giving away, okay, I could live with a pizza being not exactly what I wanted. The thing is, that was the metaphor for the rest of my life, right? That I had been going along to get along, doing the right thing, doing the safe thing, and really losing myself as part of the process.
So if there was a guiding question that people can just like right now self-check themselves from that, would it be like, what do I want? Or what do you think would be like a guiding question for people to self-check?
Well, I think two things. I think because what do I want is so vague. I actually don't ask that question. I ask a different question.
Okay.
The first question is one of pain, which is, okay, darn it, where have I been going along to get along? That's the first question, because that's a reality check. And if you go, no, you know what? I own my entire life. I own it. I'm good. Awesome. Good for you. The truth is, there are areas in your life you've been going along to get along. There are. Now, the question is that painful, or is that working for you? Because, for many people, there's a job that people go to, and there are expectations in the job. Okay, that is a trade, and that's a deliberate trade. Okay. Now, if when you wake up, the first words out of your mouth are, like, not again, not this, right? Change that. Change that. And I have a different story about that, where for 2 weeks in a row, I had awakened and the first words out of my mouth were, right? And I was in traffic, and the traffic was stop and go and stop and go and stop and stop, except I went stop and go. And so I ran into the back of a trash truck, and it was like, okay, how much of a bigger wake up call do I need than to go, I just ran into a trash truck. Like, it's not that I didn't see it. It was just, and we get into these patterns. Stop, go, stop, go, stop, go, stop, stop. But I went stop, go. And it was like, okay, something needed to change. I changed my job at that point. It was like, I actually, had begun sending out resumes at that point. This was, again, many years ago. And the cosmos was looking out for me because my boss asked me to take a meeting, and one of the people I took a meeting with had my resume on her desk. And she was coming to this other job to do some business with this other thing. And it was like, oh, this is great. So she gets to see me in this role sort of professionally. And then I get to call her up and say, guess what? My resume's on your desk. Can I come play in your playground? So when you get clear, right? When you get clear that there's enough pain I want to change, you start to change. And so that's the next thing is one, have I been going along to get along? And two, not what do I want? In my work, we'll talk about the third book, I think, or I could talk about it now, which is, in the significance factor, I asked this one question. What would you treasure? What would you devote time and energy to actually like cultivating, like as if it's a garden? What would you treasure? Because that's a very different question than what do you want? Oh, I want to have a giant car, and I want a giraffe, and I want, and it's like, what do you want, really? What do you want?
A unicorn. No, I'm kidding.
Exactly. And so it's really about what would you treasure? Because this is about, it's not, oh, I wish, this thing. It's not wishing. I wish this thing would drop on me and I would have it. Then I have what I want. It's like, what are you willing to put yourself into, heart and soul, to create, right? What would you treasure? And whether that's a relationship or a job or a thing, some people want the thing. Oh, I would really treasure having a BMW. I would really, it's like, okay, cool. Then what are you willing to do for it? I would really treasure having a relationship that works finally. Okay, who are you willing to become to have that? What kind of work are you willing to do on yourself first? Well, people should accept me as I am. Yes, and, right? Because if you've always had those kinds of relationships, that means there's something broken along the way. So look in the mirror. What would you treasure? And who do you need to become to have it?
Yeah, for me, it jumps out like it's not actually the thing, it's maybe the feeling around.
Yes.
Like maybe you don't want to be like you want the BMW, but maybe you want to ride in style, you want to be comfortable, you want to feel secure, you want to be proud. That's what was jumping out of me, is that it's maybe not the tangible, what do I want? Oh, I want the BMW. I want the feeling, and this is what I'm willing to do to get there. Right?
And that's right. So I want to feel respected. I want to feel like I've made it. Okay, good. Right. And what happens is when you get there, here's one of the things that I talk about again in the significance factor. One of the chapters is on success. The first chapter is on self, right? There are 6 steps to transform your life to make it truly matter. And the first step is, what do you value? And then it's, you look at strategy, who are you in the world? And then it's success. How do you define success? And here's the thing is that we have this idea of success that's up there somewhere, right? And it's like, okay, if I can get to success, that's great. And what people don't realize is that in getting to that place of success, that journey changes you. So that when you get to that place of success and it's like, oh, I finally got the job, the BMW, the penthouse, the whatever, it's like, how come my life feels empty? It's because you're a different person getting there than you were when you started out going, oh, I wish I had. Because now success, it's like, okay, I have this, good. Now what? And that's so critical. That's where the excitement happens, because that's when you turn on and go, there's more. There's more.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where the breakthroughs happen too, right? So
say that, absolutely. When you believe and you go and you see you're capable of more, it's like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
I love it. So pineapples, olives, and garbage trucks made a big change in your life, right? Those were your
Indeed.
wake-up calls.
Indeed.
Now, I'm going to go back a second because you threw, curious. Do you want to talk about curious now? Let's talk about it. Since you're waving them in front of me, let's talk about Curious George, and then we'll go back. So when I was with you at the mastermind, we're both in Brendan Bouchard's mastermind, and I can remember it was a room full of like a bajillion people, and I was like, oh my God, I want to get a good seat so I can learn, and I like ran up to the front, and I see seat, Curious George, other seat, and I'm like, oh, that's where I'm going, because I'm curious about who's sitting there. That sparked my playful nature in me, that I'm
Awesome.
like, my curious and playfulness,
Awesome.
which I have sometimes a hard time bringing out, right? So when you're talking about the whole
You
vulnerable,
do?
now I'm like, I'm good now. I used to, I should say, right? I used to. But so tell my audience, why does Curious George, because correct me if I'm wrong, he goes everywhere with you.
He goes everywhere with me. Yeah.
He sits at the table in all your mentorship and leadership meetings and all of the things.
Yeah, even, right? So I'll set him at the head of a conference room table, even when I'm with the suits, right? It's like, right? And so the first question is, what's with the monkey? and it's like, that's great. It's a great place to start, because here's the thing. It's not just George, it's Curious George. And so my belief is that if you start in if you start in curiosity, this is really the key, is that if you start in curiosity and you ask a question of what if, or what's with, or what about, it's different than saying why this, which is sort of a blameful kind of question. What about this is curious, right? If you start in curiosity, you cannot be in judgment. And so entering the world in curiosity is an amazing magical power that most people don't realize that they could turn on in any minute, instead of, oh, traffic sucks, oh, that guy sucks, oh, my job sucks. It's like, no, it's like, what about today can I do to make a difference? What can I bring to make the people around me smile? What can I do to make my environment different so that it sucks less for me? Or I might even have fun with it. And it's like, that's awesome. So here's the thing, is you can't actually think about or see Curious George without without smiling or laughing, right? It's sort of like, that's why I bring him. And he's, because I bring him to, everywhere I go, you can tell from my surroundings, I'm in a hotel. I'll be bringing him to a group I'm working with today. And actually worked with them yesterday, and they asked me, hey, did you bring the monkey? Did you bring George? It's like, yes. So he was sitting out the entire day. He's the first thing I see, or one of the first things I see in the morning. And it's a great reminder to start my day. Stay curious. One of I teach 3 core concepts of C's for leaders, right? 3 C's. And the 3 C's that I teach are clarity. Like, do you have a really clear sense of purpose? Are you clear? Do you have clarity of who you are, your values, which is why I start there in the significance factors. Your values are about yourself, right? So do you have a clear sense of who you are? The next one is communication. How do you communicate, 1, who you are, and 2, what you want? And it's not always verbal. Sometimes it's in the way you carry yourself, right? Are you carrying yourself in a way that says, I got this? Or are you carrying yourself in a way that says, I hope nobody notices that I don't have this, right? And it's kind of apologizing in the world, which again goes back to choosing your power. Like, how are you choosing to step up and be in the world, right? So clarity, communication, and can you guess what the last C might be?
Curious.
Yeah, so the last C is being curious, curiosity, exactly. Because if you carry that level of wonder into the world, It keeps you playful. It keeps you engaged versus judgmental of, that person in traffic is a so-and-so. And this person who treated me this way is a so-and-so. It's like,
Might not be.
if I'm curious, I might decide to have a different story about their lives.
Yes.
I don't know much. I don't know anything about who they are, right? So maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe they've just come from chemo. Maybe they've just come. It's like, I don't know, right? So it's not about judgment. It's about, I wonder if, and it puts you in this place of compassion, which is perhaps a fourth C,
I love that. It makes me think about kids, how kids live their life curious, and there is no judgment when they're little, and everything is like in wonder and awe, and they're very curious. Which
exactly.
I have to say is why kids always ask the question why.
Okay.
Why that? And I know that's one of the words that you're not so, and I always ask the question why. So Wayne, tell me, why should we not ask the question why?
So here's the thing, right? In Choosing Your Power, I talk about 10 key watchwords. And why is the number one watchword. And so I'm saying eliminate it except for a couple of specific places. The reason I don't call it a kill it word, never ever use it word, it's a watchword, right? So use it deliberately. I think if you're an engineer and need to sort of backwards engineer how something works, then you go, well, why did that happen? I think that if you're reflecting for yourself, you can ask, why does that matter to me? And when you do that 4 or 5 times, actually, there's another book out, obviously by another author, and my steps, I was surprised when that book came out, because my steps actually parallel that, which are, you ask yourself 4 times, and why does that matter to me? And why does that matter to me? And it's a self-reflective journey. Where it's used badly is when it's used to blame, shame, and actually, put another person down. And I know with all certainty that our audience today has been on the receiving end of that question. Why did you do that? Why didn't you call? Why are you late? Why did you bring potato salad instead of green beans? Why this? Why, and it's like, well, there's no right answer. Why did you leave? Here's a great one, right? Because parents do this to their kids all the time. Why are your jeans still on the floor? The accurate answer to that is, that's where I took them off and gravity kept them there. But if a child responded that way, that child would probably be, in detention of some sort forever, right? So the question to ask is not why, but it's what or how, with the end result in mind. So it's like, well, okay, here's this living space. We all live in this place. What can we do to keep the sink clear? What can we do so that the living room floor doesn't have anyone's clothes on it? Where it stops being blameful about you suck, you left your things, why are they there? You don't want the answer to why. And that's why I'm saying eliminate it. Watch it. Choose what or how with the end result. It's what I call the EPO, the envisioned positive outcome. Choose that. Like, what's your envisioned positive outcome? Well, my envisioned positive outcome is that we have a clean sink and that we have a living room floor that is free of clothing. Awesome. What can we do to create that is a different question than why are you flipping jeans on the floor, right?
And do you use that question with me. You probably don't remember, but I'm going to share a very quick story that I remember this exact question with our audience. So when I first met you, I sat next to you at that conference, and you had your book, because I was like, oh my goodness, look at your book. It's amazing. Tell me a bit about that. And you were like, I'm a #1 best-selling author. And I was like, oh, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. And you didn't say why. You were like, oh, why does that matter?
I said, what about that matters to you?
Or, yeah, what about that matters? And I was like, what do you mean? Right? And then I was like, I don't know. I got to sit with that for a little bit, and I got to really think about that. And I think the answer for me was I just wanted to get my message out there and see a lot of people. And I felt like if I had that #1 best-selling author behind my name, that would do that. Where when I sit and think with that, I don't need to have that. To have that definitely opens up doors and is an incredible thing. But when the true significance for me is just to share my message and serve, if that happens with 5 people, then that's still success. That happens with 50,000 people, that's success. So you kind of made me sit a little bit in my tracks there and sit with that and go, all of a sudden you're talking about the BMW. Like, do I really need that behind my name to do what I want to do?
Exactly right. Yeah. So the question is, and what about that is important to you? And what about that matters to you? Which is what a lot of people face when they're first starting out, or when they've got this enthusiasm, they're faced with why? And that's a very different question, right? Because that is very attitudinal, it's blameful, it's slightly shameful. And the only word, there's a word that comes after that question, and that word is because. And it's sort of like, it's either the obstreperous adolescent that goes, because that's where I want to go, because, or it's because,
almost.
What?
It's like defensive almost.
Defensive, yes, right? So the adolescent pushback of because, or the true child that comes out and goes, like the cowering child that goes, because, and it's really searching for the right answer, because what answer are you looking for? And that's where people go with it, which is why, to eliminate why. And so I look at, when I asked you questions, it was more of an interview for you to be self-reflective. What about that, book matters to you? What is your envisioned positive outcome? What are you after, really? And what you're after is this sense of, I could serve more greatly. Awesome. Is the book the path for you? And that is, I think, what our audience needs to be thinking about is, if I only had this thing. And one of the chapters in Choosing Your Power is called If Only, right? If I only did this, if I only did that, if only. And it's like, it's not that. You've got more power in the world than putting everything on this one thing. It's like, what about that thing matters to you, right? And how do you get there? Either to get that one thing, that's cool. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying there may be other ways of doing it. There may be other ways of getting there.
100%,
right?
100%. And in choosing your power, is power is not one of your watchwords, is it? Like power, sometimes people are like, power is a word. I love the word power, because power can be used for good or power can be used for evil. And I always think power is a good thing. Empower yourself, empower others, step into your power. But some people are like, power, like tell me a bit about why you use that word, choosing your power, especially in the entrepreneur and leader, or like stay-at-home mom that needs to like find her power. Like, tell me a bit about that word power.
So yeah, that's great. So I have an online course called the Direct Power System. And it's, it's like, you plug in, you have power in the world. Most people who are struggling, who feel like, the if only thing, right? They don't realize how much power they actually have in the world. And so I'm deliberate about the title of the book, which is Choosing Your Power, which means that you actually do have a choice. And when you have a choice, you are that much closer to freedom, true freedom. And so power, like anything, could be used for the positive or the negative. I mean, a telephone could be used for good or bad. It's like, I could use this to communicate, or I could use this for total distraction, and it's like, and so it has a time and a place. I'm looking around, like a pen, the same thing, right? You could use this for better, for worse. You could use, it's like, is a knife, for example, a good or bad thing? Depends
on how it's used, right?
Exactly. And so, when people go, power, I can't be powerful in the world, that would mean I'm suddenly evil. It's sort of like the blocks people have about being wealthy. I can't get over my money hurdle. Well, stop owning it. First of all, it's not your hurdle. Um, it's like, stop the word my. It's like, there is a hurdle. Okay, it's a mental hurdle. Good. Um, but money's evil. Look at all the people that have money. It's like, yeah, look at the people that have money. If you're looking at different people, they're not the self-centered ones that you may have been studying. They're actually the people that are choosing to start schools. They're choosing to educate. They're choosing to offer food, clothing, shelter. They're choosing to, it's like, with the right tools and the right wealth and the right mindset, you can affect so many more people. And so really the word power is the same thing, which is when you have this, people want to resonate with you. People want to come to you, and then your message gets spread that much further. And so, really it's about how do you step into it? How do you own it? How do you generate it? How do you affect other people with it? Right.
I love that. So I have one final question for you.
Okay.
Before we give them an offer, because your books, I need to get your books in my people's hands. So
okay.
I want to talk about the offer, but I have one final question for you, talking about, stepping into your power and making change, and what do you own and what don't you own, and what do you treasure, and all those things that you shared with us. What are you the most excited about? Like, we're almost at the end of this year. Can you believe it? Like, December's almost right around the corner. Like, how are you going to step in? What's the next level for you of your power? How are you going to step into your power? And what's like that next? Because you've had a great, significant success.
Yeah.
But we always got to keep serving and working. And so what's next for you? What are you most excited about to step in?
That's great. So two things. First of all, I want to back up just a little bit, because when you say, oh, there's this offer, people are afraid I'm going to sell something.
Oh, yeah.
So it's actually a gift, right? So it's not it's a gift.
Oh, yay!
So I'm giving something away. So there's that. And then I might show you where you can buy something, but that's separate. What am I working on? So it's great to be in a place to say, I'm proud of me. And I think, that's something that the listening audience, the viewing audience needs to be able to get to that place to say, like, look in the mirror and go, look, in the past 10 years, are you the same you that you were? And the answer is probably not. If you are the same you, you've got some work to do. My guess is you've changed in the last 10 years, in the last 5 years, in the last 2 years, in the last week. Are you growing? Are you the same you that you were yesterday? And so really it's, I know I'm not. I know I'm continuing to work on myself. I'm proud of me, right? I have Choosing Your Power. That's my baby. It's like, that was my first book. When I released that was like, I wrote a book and people actually like it. And 2 people don't. That's awesome. Right? What stops people from getting out there is, what if nobody likes it? Okay, what if one person does? Right? What if one person does and I've touched one person's life? Good, right? If nobody else does, I'm okay with that. Not really, right? In my heart, I want everybody to like it. And at the same time, I know not everybody's going to like me. Not everybody's going to like my message or the way I wrote it. That's okay, right? So Choosing Your Power was like, I did something. I'm proud of me. And then it was like, then to have the opportunity to write this thing with Brian Tracy, that was like, yeah, because I grew up sort of listening to Brian Tracy in my car, right? So, Automobile University. I would listen to him and he'd be inspiring to me. So to be able to contribute to that book was amazing. And then it was like, but I have more inside of me. And so I created The Significance Factor, which I also have an online course that's called Success and Significance. And so for me, what's next, which is what you asked, because The Significance Factor came out last year, September of 2016, and it shot to number 1. Yeah. And I'm just so proud of that. And so what's next is 2 things. One is I have another book in me. It's not ready for release. It's not even half written, but it's on its way. And it does have to do with with my words, right? So making your magic, and so that's part of what's next. Is I'm not done creating, and then another online course, and probably an event. Although I'm like, do I want to create this event? I do have mastermind retreats that I run, right? So rather than me being on stage and doing a big massive thing, I actually prefer to work with 8 to 12 individuals who are like, let's get intimate, let's get close, and I don't mean intimate in that way, but it's like, let's be vulnerable together while I'm working on me, right? And that's amazing when you can go away for a couple of days and go, all right, what do I truly value? Who am I really? What have been my obstacles, and what are the ways around those, right? So that's what I'm working on, right? Is I'm putting all of that together, and that'll be coming out in 2018. You'll see a new book, maybe even two, because I'm co-writing one with somebody else.
Wow, you are unstoppable and on the move,
on the move. Well, yeah, and here's the other thing is that it's all about high performance. It's all about being the dynamic leader, right? So there's my plug. Being the dynamic leader.
Love it.
It's all about that. It's like, okay, you could go to a job, or you could go to a job and, right? There's more in you. Find a way to block an hour a day, 2 hours on the weekend. It's like wherever you can, take that time for you to write your notes down. Just start, right? Just start.
100%. I always tell people the first step sometimes is the hardest. And then once you do it, then you go, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because you've proven you can do it. You've proven it's possible, right? So, yeah, good.
So you have been such a gift to my listeners. I love your personal stories. I love absolutely everything that your books are about. I love that you've got courses, and I just love that you just shared so much. You just gave this is like a podcast that you want to go back to, and you want to take notes, and you want to revisit, it 6 months from now. You've really put those concepts in there that we can always be assessing. Are we okay with this? Where are we at? What do we treasure? What do we like? Like all
those things. That's so important because it's iterative, right? You're not done.
Yes.
Right? If I wrote down what I said I valued and look back 10 years ago, I'm a different me. So it's always so important to be asking that question. What do I value now? What's important to me now? Right?
It's timeless. Timeless.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Now you have a gift that you already gave us such great gifts, but you've got another gift. Tell me about that.
Okay, so here's the deal. Ready? Right? People have to remember my name in order to get this gift. So, the significance factor. You go to WaynePernell.com, WaynePernell.com/free. You can download the book.
You're giving the book?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my goodness, Wayne. Thank you. So you're like, yeah, that's what I'm doing.
It's my gift to your audience, right? It's like, we're all here, right? The listeners, the viewers, you're here because you want to get better. Get better. Don't let anything stand in your way. Get better, right? Take that step. And then, if you want to have access to the online course, there's this magical thing I'm offering. So then you go to either WaynePernell.com or DynamicLeader.com. You will see a big red bar that says, hey, check out the new courses. And there is the Success and Significance course. There is the Dynamic Power System course, Direct Power System course. And you can get either of those courses for $100 off using the keyword magic. Now that's only good in where the podcast is timeless. The keyword magic is only good until the end of October of 2017. Okay, so you have, because at the time of this recording, we're at the end of September.
Yeah.
So the end of October, it goes all the way up to Halloween Day, right? So you can use the keyword magic in the promo code and you get $100 off, which is a significant amount off of the price of the course. So WaynePernell.com/free to get this book.
Do it, everybody. Do it. It's crazy if you don't. Yes.
It's really, yeah. And then to check out the courses and to get $100 off, go check it out. Click the big red button that says, "What about these courses?" and enter the keyword magic, because really I want people to keep making your magic. That's one of my key messages. Keep making your magic. You've got it in you. Let it out, right?
Love it. I love it. So thank you for not only a timeless, inspirational talk, but also a how-to with those guiding questions you're giving us. That is your bestseller book, right? Yeah. That's number one. Yeah. You're giving us your number one book. Yeah. And you gave us the last 45 minutes or so of your time, which we're just so thankful for. I'm so thankful to have you featured on my podcast. So much love to you. You're going to have tons of love from me and my tribe. Curious George, thank you for hanging out with us and keeping us curious. And that is a wrap, friends. We'll see you next time on the Empowered Life Podcast.